Hey everyone, welcome on into an at-home edition of the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, running through the playoff scenarios for the Broncos as the Saturday matchups in Week 18 have wrapped up. And then we'll talk about which players Kansas City is resting for the Broncos game in just a few hours, depending on when you're watching this, along with some more analysis on that matchup. But the Bengals beat the Steelers. They eked out a 2-point road victory. They have rattled off 5 wins in a row now, and they have kept themselves alive. So here's the playoff scenario. Denver wins, they're in. Open and close, shut case. If the Broncos lose, there is no longer a path for them to get to the postseason. If Denver loses and the Dolphins lose on the road against the Jets, then it's the Bengals as the 7th seed traveling to Buffalo and playing the Bills. If the Broncos lose and the Dolphins beat the Jets, then it's Miami as the 7th seed traveling up north to play their division rival. That's what's at stake here. For Denver, it is as simple as it has been the last 3 weeks. Win and you are in. And the good news is you are at home and you are playing the Kansas City Chiefs backups. So the only real question I have here is, will the moment be too big for the Broncos, right? Can this locker room, and I mean it, since 2015, like 2016 to present day, they've been unable to shake losing in big key moments. And they've got an opportunity to exercise all those demons since they've hoisted the Lombardi Trophy in Santa Clara. And we'll find out what this locker room is made of, because if they lose, I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole, but it just screams ultimate choke job. And that's something that can really fester and grow in a locker room, and it's tough to shake. And hopefully that's not the case, but very simple. Win, you're in. If the Broncos lose and the Dolphins lose, the Bengals are in. If the Broncos lose and the Dolphins win, then the Dolphins are in. So all 3 teams have a path to the postseason, but Denver's path is the simplest. Control your own destiny, take care of business at home, 2:25 p.m. Mountain Time. Now let's talk about the Chiefs players that are not going to play. So there's a lot of guys here. They have drawn up 4 due to injury, but my guess is it's more like, hey, we don't really need you anyway since it's a meaningless game for seeding purposes. So anyone that's a little banged up, we're just going to shut you down. So guys with injuries that are out: Mecole Hardman, the wide receiver; Jalen Watson, the corner; Isiah Pacheco, along with Jawaan Taylor. Remember Pacheco, because not only is he the starting running back, but the backup, Kareem Hunt, is also out. So let's go through the guys that are sitting because they're not injured, but they're just not going to play. Patrick Mahomes, first and foremost, the biggest name of the bunch. We're going to see a start from Carson Wentz. Haven't really seen a whole lot of Carson Wentz in the NFL. He played a little bit this year at the end of the Chiefs-Browns game in Week 15, but he was a backup all of last season for the Rams, and since him getting benched in Washington for the Commanders 2 years ago, we have not seen a whole lot from the former first overall pick. So it'll be a little bit surprise for all of us. So no Patrick Mahomes. Neither will his best friend Travis Kelce be out there. So no Mahomes, no Kelce, no Kareem Hunt. So Kansas City is missing their, by choice, top 2 running backs. And then on defense, no Nick Bolton, no Drue Tranquill, their top 2 linebackers. On the defensive line, no Chris Jones and no George Karlaftis, their top 2 pass rushers. And in the secondary, no Trent McDuffie, no Justin Reed, their top 2 players back on the back end. So they are obviously by choice missing all those guys, which should favor the Broncos by a ton. And this really shouldn't be a close game if we're being honest. But I don't think the Broncos should start playing with their food. I don't think anyone watching this video should start getting greedy here, because Denver in past 2 games have had really good opportunities to win the game. And it feels like they just have struggled with learning how to win games. I mean, they've done a good job at it this year compared to previous years. They've won 9, but in the last couple of weeks of the season, when the chips are down against the Chargers, I wouldn't even say that field goal was what was the difference maker to close out the first half, since Denver marched down the field and put up a field goal of their own and pushed the lead back to 11. But the fourth quarter meltdown, the inability for the offense to kill the clock, and for the defense that continues to just give up 30 points after 30-point burger in the month of December. Hopefully that ends now that we're in January, but both sides of the football have had plenty to look inwards and do some, soul searching on. Before we get any further in this matchup, I do have to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is super fun and super simple to use. All you do is download the Prize Picks app and then use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, PrizePicks does a couple of fun things. They have demons and goblins. Goblins are a little bit easier to reach when it comes to a player stat projection, but not as big of a payout. Demon, on the other hand, if you're feeling pretty smart, much more difficult to reach, but a much bigger payout. They also offer Taco Tuesdays, which is just discounted player stat projections. So there's a lot of fun things going on over at Prize Picks. If you're looking to have a little bit of extra interest while watching some games, I invite you to download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, run your game. So getting back to this matchup here, something that's sticking in my head is what Sean Payton said at the beginning of the week, which is we're not going to change things up based on who they're playing. We're going to play our scheme against their scheme, right? The Chiefs like to do this, their tendencies, and we're just going to stop who's ever in that spot. That's a little bit concerning. I think you should alter your game plan for Carson Wentz versus Patrick Mahomes. Is that a crazy thought? Like, Mahomes operates differently than Wentz. There's a lot of different guys out there. I think you should take advantage of that. I don't think you should treat the third string running back like how you would treat Kareem Hunt, meaning they have different skill sets. So let's not just assume they're going to operate the same way. I am sure Kansas City is going to go out there and play hard, because the players on the field have a rare opportunity as predominantly backups to get a ton of snaps and get a ton of film on them. I mean, think about this, ready? A decade ago, Matt Flynn plays in the final game of the season for the Packers, throws for like 500 yards, something ridiculous like that, gets a huge contract in that time from the Seattle Seahawks, and then they drafted Russell Wilson, and Matt Flynn never was seen again. But if not for that final game against whoever they played for the Packers that week, the Lions or the Vikings probably, he would not have been paid. So those guys are going to play hard out there. I don't think we should look at this as what's going to be an easy walkthrough game. Now, Denver is definitely going to have superior talent. They are the better roster when it comes to the two teams that are being trotted out there on Sunday afternoon. But if I know Andy Reid, he's going to put together a great game plan. Now, if I also know Andy Reid, go back and forth on this. Like, if you're Andy Reid, like, look at it through his point of view for a second. Beat the Broncos and extend their playoff drought. Not a bad thing for the fan base, Chiefs Kingdom, to keep a division foe down for a little bit longer. Let the Broncos win. Bengals miss the playoffs. Don't have to worry about Joe Burrow coming to Arrowhead in December or January or February. Pros and cons. The players aren't going to look that way. They're not going to think what's best for our playoff path. Like, these are backups who are very, very happy to be, given a whole game to play, and that usually does not happen. But it'll be interesting if Andy Reid is making some calculated chess moves going, let's think a couple of weeks down the line here. If we can keep Burrow out of the playoffs, that's in our best interest. So maybe we don't pull out all the stops to beat the Broncos like our lives depend on it. Just a little bit of food for thought. All right, that will do it for us on our at-home edition of the Broncos Breakdown. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be live in a matter of hours, depending on when you're watching this, for this game, for our watch party. So make sure you tune in. Click the subscribe button down below. And if you're still watching right now, you know the drill. Drop a DEN in the comment section so I know who's at the end of the video crew.